Check 1 2. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of the Radical New Bar Live Press and Public Engagement over here at the Uganda Law Society Secretariat offices. We are very delighted to have you in our presence. A very happy new year and praise the Lord. Thank you so much for making it. We are going to begin the day with the national anthems, and thereafter we shall delve into the program that is going to be read to us accordingly. May we please get on our feet to sing the national anthems.
Mungu twaomba unilinde, Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to the Uganda Law Society. We are delighted to see you once again from last year, 2025, and in light of the festivities and the new year that began, this is our first edition and therefore the second year of the Radical New Bar Live Press and Public Engagement. I'm by the name Robert Benon Irua. I'm a legal officer, rule of law and litigation. I am happy to be here with you. I am going to take the role to moderate this function as well as walk in line with one in the building. As we go forth, we are going to very fast read into the program that is going to be very, very summarized, but also very action-oriented. We are going to, as we've had the national anthems, we shall have an opening prayer. We shall have welcome remarks from the CEO of the Uganda Law Society. Thereafter, we shall hear from the Vice President, the most perpendicular, Mr. Anthony Atsimwe, with the opening remarks today. And thereafter, we shall receive experiences sharing during the election period. We shall listen to different individuals who had experiences from the past elections experience, and thereafter we shall be listening into a different topic in regard to government institutions being used as a tool to stifle citizens' participation in elections in Uganda, and thereafter we shall be receiving a petition from the National Unity Platform Party in regard to the past elections to the Uganda Law Society. And thereafter, we shall be presenting the Uganda Law Society Elections Observation and Rapid Response Report, which will be followed by a session of question and answer, and thereafter we shall have a few announcements which will lead us to the closing remarks. I would like to take this opportunity to invite our Head of Department, Rule of Law, Ms. Apio Afra, to lead us in an opening prayer, then we can get started.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I would like to thank you so much for this day. We thank you for gathering us all here. We thank you for keeping us in the year 2005 and 2006. Lord, we pray that the Holy Spirit will come and guide today's deliberations. I've prayed all this in Jesus Christ our Lord.
Thank you so much. We want to believe the Lord is in this presence. We would like to straight away welcome our CEO to give us remarks in order to start the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Uganda Law Society. Thank you.
Our distinguished guests, our governing council present here, online, the Uganda Law Society, and on of the civil society organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. We want to all welcome you to our second edition of the Radical Bar weekly press and public engagement. On behalf of Uganda Society, I take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us both physically and online. In a special way, I want to welcome Honorable Musisi here today. Congratulations, Honorable. And I would also want to let you know that we have over 30 advocates who contested and went through. And during the program today, we shall be able to list some of the advocates who went through and congratulate them. Our first item today we are looking at this opening of the New Year Law 2026. Law speaks specifically to the conditions under legal profession operates. Conditions marked by violation, interference of civic spaces, physical, increasing pressure on independence of different institutions, including institutions that are responsible for rule of law and access. We are also going to look at the milestone into which the governing council participated in observing and monitoring countrywide and were assisted by different lawyers. We shall have a report launched at the end of the day. In our midst, we have people who are going to share experiences they went through or they saw happening under their nose in different areas of the country during the elections. We also have in our midst advocates who represented different clients in different who were arrested during the election period. They're also here in our midst and also online. And one of the lawyers is Honorable Musisi, even when he's an MP now, but he represents different clients. If he's given an opportunity, maybe he will also share his experiences. The society is committed to defend the rule of law, human rights, access to justice. I call upon you all to be attentive and participate in this topic. Ask questions and they will be answered. I wish you a great and beautiful deliberation. You are welcome. Thank you. The moderator will take over from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause to the CEO. She's the mother of the building. She's hosting us. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, and we take them in stride. Thank you so much once again. We are going to very fast delve into listening into the Vice President's opening remarks about the topics that have been spoken about by the CEO, which will give us a context within which to receive the next discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, could we please receive the Vice President of the Uganda Law Society?
Thank you very much, Madam CEO. Allow me stand on the protocol that has been laid down already in the interest of time. And also allow me add my voice to the voice of the CEO to welcome you to this opening of the new law year 2026 at the Uganda Law Society. I am honored to address you today on behalf of the ULS President and the head of the bar, Isaac Chimazese Makade, Senior Counsel, to mark the opening of the new law year of the Uganda Law Society, which also serves as the 70th anniversary of the National Bar Association for Uganda. The Uganda Law Society makes 70 years of existence. Our radical new bar president, Isaac Semakade, is currently indisposed. He should have addressed you. But due to ill health, he is unable to speak to us in person at this event. But he has asked me to convey his greetings to all of you, as well as his gratitude for the support you have given to the RNB Governing Council in the past year, radicalizing the bar under our 4Ds agenda. His only request is that you keep him in your prayers and best wishes for the future. As you all may recall, last year on the 7th of February 2025, despite appearing on the program, the president of the Uganda Law Society was unceremoniously denied an opportunity to speak at the opening of the new lawyer event at the court headquarters. That's the headquarters of the judiciary. The bar, in an essential component in the realization of a democratic society that guarantees respect for human rights and ensures access to justice for all. To exclude the bar from a forum meant to audit government's obligations to the public and reflect on the state of justice is constitutionally absurd and very unfortunate. It is precisely because of this exclusion that the Uganda Law Society has chosen to hold its own opening of the new law year celebrations to speak openly about the realities confronting both our members and the public we serve, and to place before the nation a true and fair audit of their governance, as well as the fundamental issues affecting justice delivery that cannot be ignored By silencing the bar, you're denying the public knowledge of this information, which is very wrong. And for that reason, we decided to hold this event, because we believe the public has the right to know. The beneficiaries of these events are the members of the public. It's not just us, the lawyers. It's not just the judges, the members of the judiciary, or employees of government, but rather members of the public who we serve. So for that reason, we chose to focus on two critical urgent themes that are affecting the rule of law, access to justice, and administration generally. The first one being practicing law amid military rule. Practicing law amid military rule. The legal profession in Uganda currently operates in an environment heavily overshadowed by excessive militarization, where military forces and militarized tactics increasingly intrude our civilian justice processes, democratic exercises, and an independent practice of law. The government is imposing state of emergency-like measures nationwide, citing national security as an excuse. But this is being done without the necessary constitutional and statutory checks. You may recall the recent shutdown of the internet and social media, which had catastrophic effects on the delivery of goods and services to the people. Meanwhile, the office of the DPP and the courts seem complicit in this move, as recently seen in their draconian handling of cases like the blanket sanctioning of trumped-up charges, the blanket denial of bond, bail, and habeas corpus for protesters and government critics, and the routinization of delay in fixing cases challenging government-initiated restrictions on free speech, public gatherings, and other human rights concerns, resulting in effective approval of authoritarianism. These actions by justice, law, and order institutions suggest a pattern of rubber stamping excessive decisions rather than acting as an independent check on power. During the recently concluded elections, this unwarranted militarization manifested starkly through the widespread deployment of military personnel in what should remain purely civilian and democratic spaces. Lawyers alongside ordinary citizens faced unlawful arrests, violence, intimidation, and coercion. Prominent human rights defenders have been systematically targeted. NGOs and CSOs arbitrarily suspended. Activists arbitrarily arrested, detained, assaulted, and are now likely to be tried in military courts for performing their professional or civic duties. And these are actions that undermine the independence of the bar and the rule of law in the country. The Uganda Law Society is right now dealing with an alarming surge in enforced disappearances, abductions, extrajudicial killings, and prolonged pretrial detention. This follows reports of thousands of arrested around the elections and tens of hundreds summarily executed, often in military-involved operations, highlighting a growing concern over human rights abuses. At least we've seen the CDF post about this, talking about the arrests and the killings, though what we may not be sure of are the numbers that are being mentioned out there. There's also this major challenge of denial or severe restriction of bail. We all know that bail is a fundamental constitutional right, and now it has become routine, transforming it from a norm into an exceptional privilege granted sparingly, prolonging suffering for detainees and their families. This has caused many Ugandan court users to wonder and complain angrily. What are lawyers for if courts won't listen to them or adhere to the basic principles of law, such as the right to bail, preferring instead to adhere to state expediency or convenience? And this has been a daily routine. We are learning that right now, getting bail from any court is a privilege of a few. Courts are being used by the state to punish civilians. It's almost impossible to get bail, even on the simplest of the cases, because the excuse usually is it's a political case. There are orders from above. Yet we talk of an independent judiciary. That's what the Constitution says. That's what is envisaged in the Constitution. But what is the reality on ground? And this worries us as the bar, as the National Bar Association. And it should also worry the citizens. This has further exacerbated the problem of prison overcrowding, which has reached crisis proportions, exacerbated by the police to prison pipeline that funnels large numbers into extended remand without timely court conclusions, compounding inhumane conditions and violating rights to speedy justice. Just yesterday, I was speaking to someone who came out of detention and informed me that on the day of election, the 15th, the prison where he was detained was filled beyond capacity, that they couldn't even sleep. There was no way. People were just brought and sent in prison. They were just pushed there. That's the situation in the prisons, which are already overcrowded. Unfortunately, these people are taken through the court process, through police, DPP, courts, automatically remanded. The other big issue is militarization of justice, which in itself persists through attempts to prosecute civilians in military tribunals. As recently seen in the inauguration of office bearers at the General Court Martial, despite a Supreme Court ruling against it, entrenching repression, denying fair trial standards, and intimidating legal practitioners who defend dissenters. Another troubling issue is the shrinking civic space in Uganda. And you may also recall that 2 days to the national election, that was on 13th January, the NGO Bureau suspended the operating permits of several civil society organizations under vague claims of national security. That has always been the excuse. To date, these suspensions remain in force, effectively silencing organizations that play a vital role in governance, human rights, and public accountability. These are attempts to intimidate, weaken, and silence civil society, whose role we all understand very well. These are not isolated incidents or abstract policy concerns. They represent lived traumas, shattered livelihoods, terrified families, eroded community trust in justice institutions, and a chilling effect on lawyers' willingness to take politically sensitive cases. I believe most of our colleagues shun away from taking part in some of these cases because they will be victimized, because they will be considered to be part of that. And this has killed legal practice in this country so badly that lawyers also tend to go in hiding because of what's happening. The statutory mandate of the bar to advise the public on legal matters and uphold the rule of law compels us to speak plainly. And this is what we are doing. Uganda's excessive militarization of civilian and judicial spheres inflicts deep, systematic harm on human rights, democratic integrity, and the legal profession's ability to function independently. And this is what we have to say, that there are no easy fixes for this mess. Only a radical new bar can step up and kickstart proportionate resistance and resilience efforts. And today's dialogue is the starting point. We should stop pretending, holding events where we're just cutting ribbons and smiling and eating and enjoying, when Ugandans are actually out there suffering and they are looking at us. We are their only hope. If the justice sector cannot protect the citizens, then who will protect them? At least with the basics. Now, the second focus of today's program is the launch of the Uganda Law Society's Election Observation Report, a product of extensive national engagement and professional commitment by our membership. In these recently conducted general elections, several ULS advocates, whom we shall recognize and we do appreciate, including myself, should clap for me, were accredited as election observers and deployed across different regions of the country. And this role, the observation role, was systematically documented and submitted to the society. And why I actually asked for you to clap for me and the other members of the bar, we did, as the Radical New Bar, establish a rapid response team of lawyers, supported by a toll-free telephone line, which we opened to the public. As you're aware, internet had been shut down. We had actually also created a WhatsApp line. And because we had seen the patterns from campaigns, from the time of nomination throughout campaigns, the injustices being meted out on citizens, we saw this coming. That's why we established the rapid response team. And these are lawyers who offered to participate. Before we leave here, they read out for us the names of the lawyers. We called them out, and these ones chose to volunteer. There was no pay for this. They're in different parts of the country, different courts, police stations, using their own money and resources and their time. In many parts of the country, Masaka, Mbarara, Soroti, Kampala, Wakiso, Mbale, Mpigi, Arua, and many other districts. And these people, these members of the bar, offered free legal services to these individuals. Every time we received a call, we looked for the nearest advocate. Those ones who offered to give support. You must have seen some of them around. So, the report we launched today is grounded in first-hand observation, verified public reports, legal intervention, and the actual work, the people who did this work, some of whom are with us in this room, who went to the trenches, including myself, and saw what was happening, the different police stations, the strange cases that were being, put on these people, and the manner in which the courts chose to deal with this issue. So, colleagues, as we open this new law year, the Uganda Law Society, under the Radical New Bar leadership, reaffirms its commitment to the rule of law, democracy, and the protection of human rights. We also reaffirm that justice in Uganda cannot be advanced through exclusion, silence, or unilateralism. It requires honest dialogue, mutual respect, and the meaningful participation of all institutions entrusted with its administration. None of these institutions yields more power than the other, because we all strive for the same thing. We serve the citizens of the country. We therefore extend our hand to the judiciary in the spirit of constitutional partnership But we also state firmly and without apology that the voice of the bar will not be silenced for God and my country. Thank you for listening to me.
Let's give a hand clap to our beloved Vice President, Mr. Simwe. Know that his words are from a deep place. Many of us hold back tears whenever we speak. We hold back tears. Today we cannot attend a national event because people are fearful of the truth. We meet in these spaces because we cannot be allowed to raise the voices of the public. The bar is principally the voice of the public. But where you lock out the bar and then you expect to administer justice to this country, it's a fallacy. It is a joke, both justice and democracy in this country. I think a theory is that we must... somebody turned me off. I'm hoping we haven't been infiltrated and someone is playing with our sound. Am I heard? Yes, I was saying that it is indeed a fallacy. And when I see many of your faces, people who are coming back from the struggle of the election, people who at the beginning had hope and many aspirations for a new and better country. Right now we sit crestfallen and knowing or unsure of what next. There's been a tweet going around that life is now getting back to normal. But how is life normal when hundreds are in custody? How is life normal when elections are rigged? How is life normal? How do we have a proper school fees conversation when our brothers are in custody? When our sisters are in jail? People are sleeping on floors. When 90% of the NGOs in this country can't be allowed to operate. How is life normal when Chivumbi and 24 others are being held victims of violence, unable to be heard, unable to be listened to? Victims are now the victims of the offenses are now instead the victims of the law. And then we open a new lawyer day and we wear our gowns and we wear our wigs and we think it is business as usual. Today we chose to gather here largely because there's going to come a day in this country when the voice of the bar shall be heard again. There's going to come a day in this country when we shall return to these spaces, when our rights shall be accorded, when what is due to us shall not be denied, when it won't seem as if it is someone's home that you come to my home and say what I want you to say. There's going to come a day, you guys. We are going to write about this history and we shall tell of tales when we were locked out, when the public looked on after such an electoral process and no one knew what to say. And the EC confidently, unashamedly was doing business as usual. That day is coming. But before that day comes, allow me to invite our next speaker, Nina Nankunda. Nina Rose. Nina Rose is one of the most recent contestants in the election. When we followed your story, I think one of your most famous tweets was when you were sent out of an ordinary gathering and you felt offended because it wasn't really a political rally, but there is enormous opportunity and there is enormous intention to stifle and silence voices. You have experienced firsthand how the law can be unreachable and how the state can apply all manner of violence to deny and deprive the voice of the people. I know hundreds that voted for you wonder what next. And I'm not saying you should tell us what next here, but what was your own experience at the election is what we would want you to share with us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here today. My name is Nina Kankunda, and I'm the Woman MP Flag Bearer National Unity Platform for Rnblive District. Am I allowed to speak in Luganda? Fena tutegeera Luganda. Thank you. My experience wasn't really good, I'll be honest. Nze kiri kye nalabako tekaali kalulu lwali lutalo. Olutalo lwenjogerako nti n'obulamu bwagenderamu. Ne wenjogerera eggulu abantu babiri bafudde. Ate nga bavubuka mu Rnblive Town Council. My agents were beaten badly. Some were arrested. Some are nowhere to be seen, even to date. It was my first time in this, but I'll be honest, I wouldn't advise any youth to engage in politics of Uganda because I've personally experienced that it is indeed a dirty game. So many youth would really love and bandyagadde taking a part in politics because eddibu dyoddene ate n'abavubuka nkiwa tulina obusobozi okubaako eddoboozi bantu. Naye politics wa Uganda akutiisa n'akwennyamiza ng'omuvubuka enze mu rekodi nti ngenda kugamba n'abaliddako nti gavumenti eno teyatuwa chance okukiikirira abantu mu mazima ne mu bwenkanya. Abantu bangi aba agents bange bakyasibiddwa e Rnblive era kantwala akakisa kano nsabe ku abalawyers abali wano kuba essuubi lyaffe liremu mmwe kati. Twagala kubalaba nga mukola. Bwe kuba kwekalakaasa mu ababa basooka ku mwanjo kuba mmanyi ne state tebaganya kukola omulimu gwammwe naye tubasabamu essuubi lyokka. So many of my agents are at the police station in Rnblive. Tebalina musango naye bakyabagaanidde mpaka ne kati. Abo abantu abaliyo, they are breadwinners for families. They were playing part because they love their country. We didn't buy them. I personally, ng'omuntu abadde yeesimbyewo ku lw'enkyukakyuka mbasaba mulowooze ku Rnblive. Wenjogerera Rnblive is a hot spot. Nti bw'ogendayo mazima ddala oyinza okwebuuza lwaki tulonda. Nze mbadde nsaba nsinziirire wano nsabe gavumenti ejjewo ebyokulonda. If it is costing people's lives, it's not worth it. We think and we deserve to have a free and fair elections. But if it is costing the lives of people the way I saw, it was my first time, and up to now I can't sleep. I can't even eat. I can't even imagine the country we are living in. Because if it is costing people's lives, mostly the youth, then let there not be elections. Let the ruling party rule until it feels it has ruled enough. but let the people live, because I personally believe and trust every people, every life matters. Thank you so much.
Very strong words there. The takeaway for me is let there be no elections, but let people live. Is a reality that we must begin to come to terms with. Let there be no elections, but let people live. It's a pity that Nina is breaking down, but all of us, indeed, all of us, we sit somewhere quietly and we weep for our country. We weep for the nation because of the manner of violence and the manner of abuse. A number of our colleagues have joined us. I will shout out as we carry on. We have the chairperson of the National Peasants Party, Mr. Mulindwa Andrew. Thank you for joining us. Please give a hand clap to him. Thank you for joining us. We have the president of Makerere Law Society, Mr. Philip Okuku Gordon. He's also around here with us. Then my good friend Tony Galandi. Tony, we can't be at the High Court today, man. How possible is that? How possible is that? Then another good friend of mine, Mr. Yasin Sentombwe. Please, Munagomba, please, one of our ardent rule of law icons. We deeply appreciate your presence. Thank you for joining us. Allow me save time and invite our council member from the Central Region, Mr. Zanda Nchima. Mr. Zanda heads the region where, of course, Nina was contesting, and she made a request that her agents be supported, they be given legal support, and the bar lead the front line of the protest against the man of violence. Please, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, the council members around, our president who is in exile for obvious reasons, colleagues physically present and those that are online, and all of us here. We do welcome you. These are trying moments. We have sad faces all over us, as if we are mourning. But indeed, we are mourning. It's only that we have not put on black. Most of us are putting on black. But our hearts are all covered with black clothes as a sign of mourning. Nina has made a statement which is touching. She calls upon the government to call off elections and let people be. It is also one of my status linings previously. I am Lule Alexander Nkima, the acting central representative and the president or leader ULS Masaka, Greater Masaka chapter. I do share the experience Nina went through, as during election time, I happened to traverse almost 3/4 of Greater Masaka. And what happened in Sembabule is a reserve of its own. What happened there, unfortunately, we are off the grid. Internet was off. But at least when internet came back, we can see the militarization and involvement within the elections of these, are they the councillors? At least these elections that are happening after. We have seen the army coming with stuffed ballot boxes. We have seen the army come, they find a place where elections are happening, they take over, they stuff in votes, ballots, and then they disorganize everything. In one incident, the masses were like, enough is enough. They went and broke all the electoral material. This is done in broad daylight. And it is as if these people are saying, what can you do? It is not just as if. Some have even come out to say it out. What can you do? We have done this, we did this, we did this. What can you do? Is it true that we don't have anything to do? The answer falls within you. When I went, when I was doing the observation during election time, I went to Kakuto, where we have, I think, the musician Geoffrey Lutaya. All the signs and everything were showing that he's the winner. Even the returning officer at some time declared him the winner. All of a sudden things changed, and the second person was declared the winner. What happened in Masaka City was terrible. They took, I don't know how long, to announce who the winner is, trying to change things here and there. The same thing happened here in Kampala. You saw what happened in Kawempe. You saw what happened in Kampala mayoral seat. So what happened in Maogola, another region from Ninas, the candidate that is a one, forgotten the name, there's a lady, Namuga. Namuga got to a level of telling his people, her people rather, please can we go back home? I cannot afford seeing my electorate suffering this much. People were abducted, people were taken somewhere unknown. I, after the elections, went to almost all the police stations asking how many inmates, how many suspects they have arising out of this. I went to Chotera, I went to Masaka, I went to Sembabule, Bukoma Nsimbi, and Kalungu. Amazingly, when I reached in Sembabule, there was no one in the cells as a suspect arising out of. Wherever they had put these people, no one knows. But when I asked some of the people, they told me the army had created its own base there, and whoever was being abducted was never taken to police. They were taking that person the other side, and they would release them at their wish and will. So it was really terrible. What happened in Kalungu? Gunshots were happened. People were killed. I still took another step of going to the mortuaries to see if really there are these people that died during this time. Because rumors were scattering, 17 bodies were dropped here, dumped here, and all that. Amazingly, both Masaka main referral hospital mortuary and the Masaka City mortuary, the two mortuaries we have all over, there was no body. No dead body was there. Where did these bodies go? Where did they take them? We have always heard of postmortems. When you report a death at police, they always take these bodies for postmortem. That didn't happen. So that is the kind of election that we had. And those are some of the ugly things that happened that they did not want the public to see and to know. That is why we were in a blackout. We as lawyers, what is expected of us? I have always sounded this again and again, but I will not tire. Our silence is very loud as the lawyers. The society and these people that are being oppressed expect us to come and stand for them. What have we done? We have shunned away from this. You heard the VP said some of the lawyers are afraid of coming on board to handle such matters. They may think they are right, but they are not. Because even if you keep quiet, they will, anything that is supposed to come for us, after all of us getting done, will come for you. You're like a cockroach that asked the boss to spray the mosquitoes. When the mosquitoes were sprayed, the cockroach also died as well. So please, the lawyers, that is a part of our work in society. We are supposed to come up and help the oppressed, no matter the race, no matter the gender, no matter the political party. I still call upon all of us, the civic leaders, society leaders, the religious leaders. Some are vocal, others are quiet. Recently you saw what happened to one of the priests who's still in the cells. So that is a sign that even if you keep quiet, they will come for you. And what happens if you kept quiet when others were being taken? Now it is your turn. Who is going to talk for you? We really need to come up with solutions, and radical solutions, because this is RNB. It stands for radical solutions. We just don't want to be radical for the sake of it, but we have tried all the other modus operandi that we were trained since P1, and they have failed. We have held discussions. Those people come out and deny discussions. We have held these discussions. Documentary proof is there. But what happens? Nothing. We need to wake up. We have issues with the institutions. The government is using the legal institutions and all the institutions to oppress the society. They will get someone, after torturing them or after doing whatever they need to do them, they bring them and dump them at police. Now they are using police to front whatever they want. Police will bring this person, prepare the file, take it to the DPP. The DPP at this level is expected to determine whether there is evidence to forward the file or not, or seek for further investigations. Unfortunately, our brothers and sisters in the DPP have forsaken that duty. In most of the cases, what do? It is just a pipeline from the torture chambers, police, DPP to court. What does court do? When these people are taken to court, that is where we last expect to get assistance. But what do courts do? All reasons are given by our sisters and brothers in the DPP, and courts always welcome such issues. Sijui, I'm not ready to respond. Sijui, it is already late, I cannot proceed. Sijui, I need to look into the IDs and letters to confirm. This is a mockery. So our outcry goes to the judiciary. We have not lost hope in you. We still have hope in you, and we believe you can change. Judicial officers and the judiciary administration should come upon its officers and warn them on what they are supposed to do. Corruption is also another disease that is killing the systems. You will find that even during this election time, most of the people that are still in cells, they don't have chintu chidogo, they don't have money. Those that have money are not there, they're already out. So who is going to help those people? It is us, the lawyers. We have how are we lawyers going to practice within the military rule? That is what is making everyone afraid. That is what is making the lawyers hide wherever they are. But please, we have to fight for this. We have to fight for this. You see, military officers now, because lawyers always go for them personally, they come masked. You cannot identify them. As I am winding up, I still call upon the lawyers, civic leaders, society leaders, religious leaders to come up, wake up, and speak for the masses. That is what they expect of us. Thank you for God and my country.
Thank you so much, Zanda. I know that we are strained for time. We won't take long, but what Zanda did, my takeaway from Zanda's many words is we must speak up, we must stand up. We must speak up, we must stand up. When they came for Kizza Besigye, and he was picked up from Kenya, the doctors thought, Besigye is a politician. We don't need to speak up. They will. It's an FDC issue, so they kept quiet. When they kept quiet, the doctors thought he would have a different breed of people speaking for him. Then the politicians also thought, no, he's FDC. FDC shall be the ones to speak up for Kizza Besigye. And up to now, Besigye still struggles. His health is failing, and no one is helping him. Then they came for Father Deus Dit Sekavira, and the church said, let us say the rosary. And they've been saying the rosary ever since then. Father is in custody. His bail application was denied. They have fixed his case for hearing, and the president says until they adjust. Now, these are statements being made in the hearing of the judiciary. Now, recently, they came and picked up one of our own, Dr. Sarah Birete, the most vocal civic rights defender. When they picked her up, voices were all over the place asking, what shall the lawyers do? What shall the lawyers do? Guys, we did nothing. We did nothing. The most we could do is play by the tunes of the system. Birete was denied her right to vote because of being in custody. We can't sit comfortably. We can't sit comfortably. Most recently, I think they came and they picked up Malema Virizi. Malema Virizi, you may like him or you may hate him, but he is a voice for the rule of law. And wherever a voice exists, that voice is being picked up and being muzzled. Today, the entire bar cannot be at a national event simply because there is deliberate intention to muzzle any voice for change and truth. Allow me to invite our next speaker. Was supposed to have been Dr. Sarah Birete. Sadly, she couldn't make it because she's still recovering. Mr. Simwe told me that she even struggles with movement. But why are we being reduced to such levels of fear that you cannot be free in your own country, even where you've obtained bail? You fear that the next knock on your door is someone that has come to pick you up again. It's unfortunate. Allow me to invite my brother Henry Muguzi. Henry Muguzi is a coordinator of African Election Observers Network. He's a member of the Eastern and Horn of Africa Election Observation Network, and an advocate and a practicing international election observer that has been part of several observing of elections and missions across the world. Mr. Henry Muguzi is representing Dr. Sarah Birete. Please join me here, my brother. Join me here. I want to leave on one note. I know where Dr. Sarah is. She's still recovering. But what do you tell the rest of us who are fearful of what next? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as introduced, my name is Henry Muguzi. I'm here to represent Dr. Sarah Birete. She called me last evening, and she told me that she had been invited to speak before you today, but she was feeling very unwell. She's trying to overcome the effects of the time she spent in jail. Her health is not good at all. We may put her in God's hands. And when I was submitting my bio, I was very intent on who I'm speaking to you as. So I wanted to make it abundantly clear that I'm speaking to you as the Ugandan, a practicing citizen observer, but also the coordinator of the African Election Observers Network, a platform that is promoting and defending democracy on the continent. I want it to be understood that I'm not speaking to you in my other life as the executive director of the Alliance for Finance Monitoring, a civil society organization that follows money in politics and elections, because that organization was served with a letter to hold all its operations effective immediately. And operations, sometimes when I speak to you like this, that might be misunderstood to mean operations. So I'm here in my own right as Henry Muguzi, who is the coordinator of the African Election Observers Network and a citizen of Uganda, a practicing international observer. We are, ladies and gentlemen, we are in an era of political stress. There are existential threats to democracy, not only here, but across Africa. This moment calls for cooperation, because in periods like this, people lose hope, people get demobilized, and others live in fear. Up to today, there are colleagues of mine, we are 10 organizations that we are suspended, but colleagues who are up to today still fearful of even leaving their homes. In periods like these, they need encouragement. We know for a fact that democracy is not a spectator sport, where you have a few people in the arena, the rest of you must stand in the stands and watch, maybe cheer. It is not football, where 100,000 people will stand and only cheer when 24 men are chasing the ball. Democracy is about participation, that every citizen must participate in it in their own rights. They would participate as candidates. They would participate as supporters of candidates. They would participate as voters. They would participate in their own rights. But we've been, left in a situation where the rest of us have to be spectators. I want to tell you, as a practicing electoral expert, but also scholar, that one of the most important democratic advances over the last 40 years has been the development of independent, non-partisan citizen election observation. Citizen observer organizations around the world work tirelessly to defend the rights of citizens to vote, to promote transparent, but also accountable elections. But currently, the rights of citizen observers are under threat. Civic and political space has closed. restrictive laws and regulations have been used to undermine the ability of citizen election observer organizations to observe electoral processes. Being a citizen observer has become a very dangerous affair. The operations of citizen observer organizations have been suspended, and we are now about to make a month. The bank accounts of those organizations are also frozen. It means there are parents in this country that won't have their children go back to school because that couldn't happen. The challenges faced by citizen observers, and Dr. Sarah Virete was intent on instructing me to make sure that I share with you these challenges, are several, but I will highlight a few. I think the first one is the lack of legal recognition of citizen observers as citizens of a country. When you are an election observer, you are not a foreigner. You are not like the internationals who come and go. You are here to stay. It is also your country, and as a citizen of the country, you have rights. And having rights, and the Constitution gives you these powers, you have a permanent engagement in the governance affairs of your country. Okay? And so, the laws of Uganda do not recognize this. The National Bureau for NGOs that wrote the letter that suspended those 10 organizations recognizes NGOs only as agents that supplement government operations. Like if government has not been able to provide food or plant trees somewhere, you do that, look after orphans. The role of citizen organizations in governance is not recognized. So in that case, we have issues with the law. But also, citizen observers are not yet recognized as human rights defenders. There are international instruments that have already recognized citizen election observers as human rights defenders. That reality has not yet come home. So it hasn't been recognized as yet. The courts have also not helped. You will recall in 2020, we had citizen observer organizations in Uganda had formed an outfit to help, mobilize but also rally them around, which they named the National Election Watch Uganda. The acronym was New U. That outfit was banned on grounds that it was not registered. So that civic identity was denied. Efforts, organizations went to court to petition whether it was lawful to deny the organization that civic identity, and the help did not come through. I want to speak about registration and accreditation that are being used as tools for controlling the operations of citizen observer organizations around Africa, in this country as well. Today, accreditation is for everything. But before, I think about 10 years prior, before, accreditation was only needed for only those areas that are specifically controlled by the Electoral Commission. For example, you needed accreditation to visit, to observe at a polling station, but also accreditation to access a national tally center. Today, accreditation as a requirement has been extended to all stages of the electoral process. We have just finished an election process. A new electoral process has started because it starts immediately. Another one closes. To observe any stage, you must be accredited. And yet this country had progressed in terms of citizen observer organizations, because we had organizations that had specialized in observing all the stages of the electoral process, including all the aspects We had organizations that had specialized in observing human rights in elections. We had organizations that had specialized in observing youth in elections, women in elections, money in elections, media in elections, all the aspects of the electoral process as you know them. And so for each of these to do the work, accreditation is used. And when applications are submitted, the agency that does follow up to establish the credibility of those organizations is not the Electoral Commission. It's security agencies that follow up. So this is clearly, as you would see, intended to limit the rights and access of citizen election observers. It has consequently undermined the ability of citizen observers to observe the electoral process. The organizations that were served with the letters of suspension had applied for accreditation, and none of them was granted accreditation for the election. There's been limited awareness as a challenge, limited access to information about the electoral process. We cannot access this information. As a matter of fact, if you read the charge sheet of Dr. Sarah Virete, she was being accused of falsely accessing information about the voters register. You cannot access this information, and yet the Access to Information Act and the Constitution grants you the right to access these as a citizen. You cannot have them. But there is no shortage of international instruments. There are international instruments that protect the operations, but also the work of citizen election observers. One of them is the Declaration of Global Principles for Non-Partisan Election Observation and the Monitoring of Citizen Organizations, which recognizes the rights of citizens to observe their own elections in their own country. It would actually be that I wouldn't need accreditation from the Electoral Commission to observe the election in my own country, because for me, observing an election is the way I enjoy that right as a citizen, that political right. Just as the other enjoys it as a vote by going to vote, I enjoy it by observing. Another enjoys it by standing as a candidate. That right has been removed. But we know that the United Nations special rapporteurs on the rights to freedoms of peaceful assembly and association, but also on the situation of human rights defenders, did recognize last year citizen election observers as human rights defenders, and they must be seen in that regard. They further recognized the African citizens organizations as having experience and expertise to play that critical role in their own right. And so we stand here today demanding, but also applauding the Radical New Bar to having taken lead, and to pray that you continue doing this, because we need strong and accountable institutions as a country. And accountable institutions must be backed by the rule of law. And the rule of law is the bedrock of democratic governance. Laws and institutions are the means through which democracy can deliver for the people. And therefore, my prayer is that you continue as the Radical New, but to use your legal and technical expertise to help defend this bedrock from the local to the national level. You are experts in constitutional reform, rule of law, justice systems. Mention it. Democracy lives in culture. It does not just live in laws and institutions. And democratic culture is made up of principles, norms, and values such as respect for human rights, integrity, and inclusion. These things I've mentioned matter in society and in institutions, and therefore should matter in government. When democracies fail, it's the people who suffer. You have heard from Nina Rose. You've heard from the council that witnessed many of these things. the people are bleeding. And conversely, only people can keep democracy alive, because accountability is strongest when it is a collective. It cannot be left on the shoulders of just a few. And so it's important that we move steadfast in helping Ugandans to believe again that democracy can deliver fairness, dignity, and opportunity for all. But also that democracy belongs to them. People will only defend something if they care about it and believe in it. But as we stand today, many people have given up. You would wonder why the voter turnout has been dwindling and now is at a level where it is quite concerning, because as you noticed in Kampala, it was below 50%. So out of every 10 people that registered to vote, 5 or 6 did not turn up. Why? The people have given up. It is in our power and also in our authority to make sure that we don't let this happen. We must keep pushing. We must fight. We cannot allow or afford to keep silent. We have to keep, pushing and pushing until such a time when we can't push anymore. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my brother. Keep pushing until we can't push anymore. When I spoke about the persons who are being picked up, I don't think I just forgot to mention the different and the hundreds, the Driggers, the Sam Mugumias, Chemtais, and every other person that is untraceable at this moment. You guys, it is not business as usual. Anybody who thinks it's a normal day, it is any day, is deeply mistaken. Now, I want to just give a minute to my colleagues on council. You people don't know, but the Radical New Bar Council did set up an observer team headed by the council members. Each of them was leading a different delegation across the country. You had thank you. You had the thoughts from the member from the central region, but each of the council members, we had a reporting unit, a reporting team. We are gathering data which shall inform our report that we are launching today. But let me invite our treasurer, Mr. Isiko, in just at most a minute or two. Mr. Isiko, not to preempt the report. I want you to speak to what offended you the most in this election. What saddened you the most? The deaths of Ugandans, the disappearing persons, the election cycle, the denominations of opposition members of parliament, literally violating the voters' choice on whom they would want to choose. The shutdown and the number of losses that Ugandans suffered on account of the media shutdown, the online shutdown, the mobile money shutdown. But I think what caps it off is the top of those is the raid on the home of Chagulanyi. Which of those incidences and whichever other, which of them in the cycle offended you the most? What are your thoughts about it?
Thank you so much. I would like to begin by requesting all of us to have a minute of silence for our fallen Ugandans. May their souls rest in peace. Since I've been given a minute, and specifically to talk about what hurts me most, I think what hurts me most is seeing Ugandans lose their lives. I was so touched when Nina Rose brought it out. You know, you can never understand the pain of losing someone, not until probably you lose someone so close to you. So, that is the feeling that is in the hearts of Ugandans who lost their loved ones. These are people who died yearning for change. These are Ugandans who died yearning to see certain ideas being implemented. Of course, as any other Ugandan up on the 15th of January 2025 to participate in these elections, where elections were held and where I participated, that is in Rubaga, voting began at around 10. And of course the reason was that the machines were unable to operate. And we as Uganda Law Society, this is where we come out and we say that laws are not put in place for the sake of it. When you look at, or when you read the Parliamentary Elections Act, the Presidential Elections Act, they are quite clear. These machines were not made for the sake of it. And it has been following the presidential petition. So I hear people rubbishing them. These are things that could be done away with. I hear substantiality, they didn't affect substantiality. That is all wrong. When we go on the path of democracy, we should stick to that path. And that is why when I meet security officials, I always tell them, stop hiding under the guise of, I hear, security, national security. For crying out loud, we all want security. We all want that peace, the stability. Who wouldn't want it? Because it is one of the key drivers of economic development. But the levels of intimidation are high. I think people in Kampala are used to seeing military men moving around the streets of Kampala. Maybe that is why maybe to some it is okay. But security officials parading themselves with guns on the streets of any city in Uganda is not business as usual. I want us to agree, this is not business as usual. Ugandans are peace-loving. So that notion of security should be stopped by the security organs. Because this is one of the reasons as to why there is a low voter turn-up. On the 27th of January, I happened to go again and vote. But the numbers were so low. Why? The intimidations are high. Ugandans are losing hope. And of course, this is all part of the blueprint. To all the people that are here, the issue of making Ugandans lose hope, the fatigue, we call it political fatigue. It is all part of the blueprint. when you're out there and you feel that you're fatigued about the political environment, just know you have fallen in the trap. And that is where, as the Radical Nuba, we are here to drum hope with the Ugandans. You know, for the readers of history, I always tell you, and I continue to state now, when you read about history, the Mau Mau rebellion, name it. You go read about those rebellions. They happened in a time like now. The great men and women that you read about are men that stood up. These are women that stood up. The times might be different, but the conditions are the same. Don't leave this to Nina Rose. Don't leave this to Honorable. Don't leave this to the Radical Nuba Council or any political head. Power belongs to the people. Power belongs to you, belongs to me, and everyone. When we are meeting the African Union, the head of the African Union, one of the things that came out, which is going to bring problems in this country, is an issue of denomination by the Electoral Commission. The habit of the Electoral Commission nominating and denominating is wrong. That is why I always say that in politics we should debate on ideas. And that is the problem I have with some political players. Dissent is perceived as terrorism. It is perceived as hate speech. Don't be surprised when after this function, a charge sheet is sanctioned against some of the speakers today. And the charge is hate speech. But these ideas that we are bringing forward, denomination should stop. This happened in Nigeria. The Electoral Commission in Nigeria was denominating people like no man's business. And of course, that was intended probably to give others political leverage. No wonder nowadays we see a lot of people who are coming unopposed. Denomination. The beauty we have right now, we have more than 30 lawyers who are in parliament. Even us as a Radical Nuba, we are going to write a paper on this issue of denomination by the Electoral Commission. These should be powers that are reserved by the High Court. Once you nominate, you're functus official. Since I was given a minute, I had a lot to say, but I will end on that. My prayer is that we should let's love our neighbor, regardless of their political affiliations. This message goes to the security officials, to the government officials. Let's love our neighbors. Just because I have a different view from you shouldn't be justification to shoot me, to destroy my property, to abduct me. I was reading the Daily Monitor. People are missing. People are missing. Honestly, how can a human being miss? This topic just makes me emotional. I will end there. I'll return the mic to the MC. Thank you so much.
You guys, it is not easy to. Our governor is at a point of near tears. Why I had to come to his rescue is because these things touch the heart and they touch those very deep places that. But what I would take away from what he said is, once you nominate someone and they embark on a campaign and they spend money in that campaign and they rally support, and a few weeks to the election you denominate that person, no reparations, no indemnity, no compensation. It is business as usual. The governor said that the law should be modified so that the ECs factors. For me, I think that this current EC must resign. The current EC, Mr. Byabakama and his entire commission didn't deliver a credible election. The EC must tender their resignations for violating Article 1 and 59 of the Constitution, among others. If we have more energy, we shall demand for a refund of the BVVK machine money that we spent over machines that didn't work intentionally at the final hour. Well, if you allow me, Speaker, I will tell you all my thoughts. Honorable, I want to invite the legal team from NOP. They have been the biggest victim of the ongoing violence, the intimidation, the suppression. And this morning, it's now afternoon, today they have a petition to present to the Radical New Bar Governing Council. Let me invite the team. Please come. The entire team. I have deep respect for you guys. Deep respect. You are the true soldiers and frontliners in this journey for change. Let me invite Mr. Simo. Mr. Simo, please come and stand next to us here as we have this petition presented.
Thank you, the President, the Governing Council, members here present and outside. I'm delighted to see all of you here. We'll be very brief because of the time. I hope Khaled is not trying to intimidate me into being fast. For starters, every time we go through an election, it's when I think the pattern that has been created, human rights violations, are most. Those human rights violations are even higher where the people who are supposed to be to shine a torch on those violations, for instance, the civic space or the media, are muzzled, like we saw. Recently, we had an internet shutdown. And after the internet shutdown, I'm trying to paint a picture of how the election was. After the internet shutdown, we are treated to tweets saying we killed 20 NOP terrorists and we arrested over 2,000 terrorists. Now, those tweets could be easily dismissed as jokes, save for if they are coming from a decorated soldier, a general, and who commands the highest office in the military. We all know, even law students here know that being a terrorist is criminal. And we know that it's only a court which can pronounce you terrorist. And we know that the highest that they have done is charge 25 people with terrorism who are still also suspects. So to label people who are in different prisons right now as terrorists could show you the picture
that NOOP has been portrayed. It's been criminalized. So the number of violations that have happened are several, from extrajudicial killings, like you've had, to arbitrary arrests, to enforced disappearances of not just leaders but supporters, and to a number of charges that I don't want to elaborate. The president has talked about them, Zanda has talked about them. So what is happening is, and Nina said, are we running through a criminal process, a political process, or otherwise? We shouldn't say, and we're not saying, that being a member of NOOP gives you some bit of immunity from the law. No. We are only calling for basics, which is due process. Let the due process be had. Why should people be disappeared? Not just leaders, but even an ordinary supporter. I was talking to not only Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi in prison, but even some of our people who are, the other day visited Doreen Kaija and Olivia Oltaya. And they were telling me that in the course of the election, I think 2 days after elections, there were a number of people who were brought that they couldn't even sleep properly. They had to sleep what they call kagongo, because that's when they know that a number of people have been arrested. And the president talked about what is happening in our prisons. So our call this morning, and I'm using just 1 minute, and I'm going to give Mulongo to sum it up and hand over to President, is we don't have to be political to call out violations. First of all, the first duty is upon us as lawyers. You don't even have to be a human rights lawyer, like they call them. You don't have to be a sin saint Ombwe. I'm glad, Mr. President, when I see my brother Tony here. We would like to see more of the Tonys leave the comfort of the others to come and handle a case, because this is about the law. It's not about politics, by the way. I applaud people like Xander. If I could share an experience, Mr. President, 6 years ago, I think in 2020, going into 2021, I was with Xander in Masaka. They had arrested over 100 people, the Eddie Mutwenubian League group from Kalangala, as you all remember. That was my first time of physically meeting Mr. Rule here. And what brought us together was his passion for justice and the law, not politics. That's what brought us together. I remember we spent, it was curfew time, and we left court at around 8 p.m., if you remember, Zanda, and we didn't know. And then our clients were sent back to prison. They were granted bail, but of course the terms could only be fulfilled the following day. We spent the whole day standing on our feet, trying to fill bail forms for 102 people in triplicate. Even, in fact, some of the shooters helped us to fill. We had to go to his chambers to photocopy. I'm glad that 6 years later, the fire in him hasn't burnt down. He's not a politician. I don't even know his political affiliation. But his calling is towards, his fidelity is to the law. And I want to end by echoing the words of the president, that if we can't find justice in court, I want to edit it, Mr. President, that if lawyers can't fight for justice, then who shall? Uganda Farmers Association, Uganda Surveyors Society, Uganda Medical Association. If lawyers are not shouting themselves hoarse, our constitution is 30 years old. That Bill of Rights that was there, I don't think it has ever been attacked in its 30-year history than it has been in the last 4 to 6 years. I don't think the High Court has received habeas corpus applications in huge numbers like they have done in the last 6 years. Possibly they have received more habeas corpus applications in the last 7 years than in the 25-year history of this constitution. That calls to us being at the front line, irrespective of political affiliations. I thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and I will be very brief, maybe to make some few highlights. My colleague here talked about something on the Electoral Commission and saying that they must resign. And I think resigning alone is not enough, but they must be prosecuted because they are criminals. If you cause a financial loss to this country, to the taxpayers, and then you resign and go home, that would be habit. I think you should add that on that. And then maybe to talk about the issues we are facing as people who represent the people that have been arrested in this election period, campaigns and the rest, is that at this level where you find state attorneys magistrates and judges having to discuss on what to do with the case before you enter court. When both of us are lawyers and we appear for different sides, it is unfair and something that should be called to end. It is very sickening and hard to believe that for you to enter to defend your client, a magistrate and the state attorney have had a conference before you, and then they know your fate, and then you're wasting your time to make submissions, and then they will say write and file written submission and all of that when they already have a mind. We have a lot to say about the judiciary that has been, summed up and bundled into a basket of whatever you get and receive sent to prison, and that's the end of the story. We should be ashamed as people who still love this country and love the Constitution, as good as it is. Whatever is bad in there is bad, but at least chapter 4 is still intact, and we must live to have it feel some breath in our lives. We have a number of habeas corpus applications, but you can imagine filing an habeas corpus, which ordinarily should be heard and determined within 48 hours, and the person should be brought before court, and then you have to adjourn the matter for a week for the Attorney General to file an affidavit, which is a denial as usual. They have adopted one format. We don't have the person, we don't have the person. And then a judge sits there and then tells you to file submissions and then adjourns to give a ruling. It takes a month or two. That somebody dismisses habeas corpus application, the head of the state comes and says, we had to these people, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo, in the fridge there. And then you are a judge seated and you cannot even make any statement to your judgment or ruling. Really? This is something that we need to fight for as advocates. I don't want to talk a lot, but let me give this one to summarize. Thank you.
Yeah, I thank you all of the members who have appeared here. We had a petition to present from the National Unity Platform, but I will not go through the entire petition. But a few highlights is that from the time of the nomination of presidential candidates, about 1,000 people were arrested. Some are still in prison. From the 14th day of January, that is the eve of the election, over 3,000 people have been arrested and are in prison. There is a process that the courts have just adopted that helps police transfer suspects from police through judiciary, then to prison direct. I don't know when it became an issue for a judicial officer like a magistrate to adjourn a simple bail application in a magistrate's court. I don't know. And we as lawyers, we keep quiet about all this. We have a lot of people arrested, not because they are National Unity Platform, but because they are change-seeking forces. The big example is our colleague Marema Birizi. You speak about facts, and because someone has an office which he thinks is the highest, feels so much ashamed, and the only way to punish you is take you to prison for hate speech. Your bail will not be entertained because you have not uploaded documents. Which documents? LOC letters and national IDs. It is so hurting. This is no longer an NUP issue, but this is a national issue, where lawyers are being charged for offenses because they are criticizing the bad acts of the government, where journalists cannot do coverages because they are covering things that are against those regime apologists, where business people cannot freely trade in the markets down because they are associated with a political party. This should stop. My call is that, and on behalf of NUP, let's not look at this as an NUP issue, but a national issue, where people are being abducted in broad daylight, where people are being killed without a trial. Those are extrajudicial killings. and then someone comes tomorrow and said we have killed 22 terrorists, a CDF of a country. This is hurting. A call to the Uganda Law Society is that we invite you, all of you. You shouldn't be a human rights lawyer. You shouldn't be related to politics or what, but these are matters of us as a nation. And we, the lawyers, are the lead in this. Let everyone live along their political sides, but let's all join efforts. We have many people around the country in almost every district. 3,000 are the people that we have tried to trace, but many are still missing. So we call upon every one of you to come and join us. We support and see how we can move this country. There is one word that has been sent to me from the legal fraternity of the NUP that I want to read for you and quote from Pastor Martin Neymar. That first they came for communists. I did not speak because I'm not a communist. Then the second, they came for socialists, and I did not speak because I'm not a socialist. When they came for trade unionists, I also kept quiet because I'm not a trade unionist. When they came for me, there was no one to speak for me, and that's how I ended. They are not only attacking lawyers, they are attacking every human being, but let us, as lawyers and other activists, change-seeking forces, do what we can before it is our turn. Today has been Mabirizi, today has been Dr. Zedriga, today has been Joret Kamushaba, but tomorrow it might be you. And if we have kept quiet about these ones we have heard of, who will come to speak for you? I thank you so much.
Right, colleagues, I thank you very much once again. We, as the members of the Governing Council of the Radical New Bar, we hear you. Nina, we heard your plea. And this is a plea we've heard not for the first time. And these are the pleas we don't take for granted. We know it is our role. That is why we also have a petition from the members representing, NUP, the people who say are NUP supporters, when eventually, actually, everyone is affected. If you look at what has been happening, no one has been spared. Whether you're NUP, whether you're NRM, whether you're, so many people have been arrested. And we want to assure you that as the Radical New Bar Governing Council, we are ready to support. We are available. We'll give you the support. As well as many other victims of these injustices. I had Nanguru talk about what impressed him about your tweets, but I think what impressed me most was about, I think your tweet about an attack on women. We take some of these things for granted, but if you notice, I think that was after Barbie Chagulanyi was attacked at her home. Incidentally, I think your call to action and communication came out before I even saw the women lawyers come out. And that communicated something, that as members of the bar, where are we? What are we doing? Because for me, it was an eye-opener. There's a Driggers under attack. They are nowhere, they've been abducted. We saw this deliberate, ugly action against women. And even when you look at the list, like we shall share in our report, some of these people who are arrested are actually minors. They are children. They are not adults. So that means no race has been left. It doesn't matter your age, your color, your political affiliation. You're a victim and you'll fall victim. Our statutory mandate is very clear. and we undertake to play our part, to do whatever we can to execute our mandate. We are not doing this outside the law. It is what we are supposed to do. It is what we should be doing. And another assurance you need to know is that whereas we know majority of institutions, both government and non-government institutions, are under capture, being the reason as why we see things happening though they are happening. Most of our institutions are under state capture. As the radical new bar, we shall not allow to be captured. We shall not relent until there is justice for every Ugandan. At least as long as we are still in charge of the radical new bar, of the Uganda Law Society, we shall not allow the Uganda Law Society to be captured as well. Because as you can see, it is the only hope Ugandans have. Now, as you may be aware, and as we mentioned at the beginning, in fulfillment of our mandate under Section 3D and E of the ULS Act, we did participate in an electoral process through observation. But then we also, like I spoke earlier, we launched the rapid response, where we had several members participating. And to that effect, we have our report, which we are going to launch. And this report includes everything we've done. I'll go through the summary. But allow me, before I go to that, give special mention of the members of the bar who came out when we made the call. If you remember, we sent emails and we asked people to voluntarily, register. It will be amiss of me if I do not mention these names. And they are from different districts. We have Kakuru Tumsime, who was just here. Kato Tumsime, the twins who are here. You did a commendable job. Kama Obadiah. We have Echebu Jude, Brenda Bira, Kemba Viola. From Mukono district, we have Council Olobo Ronald. Masaka, led by Council Lule Alexander. We also have Baruku Joffrey, Chichoncho Davis, Kabiswa Pius, Brian Biamukama, Salmat Mutale. Arua district, we have Saddam Viga Buga, Dromati David, Abio Ivan, Bawa Ahmed, Auf Ratib, Irienge Pamela, Pirioth Michael, Oiroth Shepherd, Akum Cecilia, Kepo Alfred, Kashoke Rasul, myself. We have Jirua Robert, Kafuko Paul, Nicholas. These people helped us with Utambara and outside Kampala. Ruero district, we had Akol Irene, Riimbazi Paul. In Kumi district, we had Aguero Winnie, Luke Susan, Alimo Selina, Adeke Diana. At Soroti district, we had Omese Donald, Nalwega Fatuma. In Mbara district, we had Chiburiani Nicholas, Tumukunde Joshua. And Masindi district, we had Zemei Susan, Tresime Irene, Ebari Viola. In Jinja, we had Sanyu Diana. Now, colleagues right now are over 7,000 members registered with the Uganda Law Society. If we make such a call of importance, and you see a small fraction of the members offering to take part, where does that leave the rest? And to me, this is a challenge to the members of the bar. I do commend the colleagues who have been doing all this, who offered their services to humanity. History will not forget you, and we should clap for these colleagues. But like you've heard, we've received a petition. We had a petition from Nina, we had from the NUP, and other people who have been talking. There's a lot to be done. Colleagues, our services are more needed than any other services right now. The country is bleeding, and we have a role to play. So I call upon other members of the bar to please join this noble cause. It is what we are supposed to be doing as lawyers. Now, allow me speak briefly to the report, and then we launch it. Our election observation report goes back to the pre-election period, because we should not only focus on the voting day. That's what has been happening with most observers. Yet, the electoral process begins way before. If you look at the processes, the laws, from the time of nominations onwards, up to even after elections. Because, I mean, now you're seeing court cases ongoing. We are seeing drama happening in, vote recounts all over. There are so many people who have roles to play. But these are, I'll summarize, I'll just highlight the observations. There was a lot of candidate nomination and academic qualification controversies. The details will be in the report. Arbitrary arrests, violence, and voter intimidation during campaigns. We saw several rallies being blocked, especially the NUP rallies. We saw the president of NUP, Chagulan, being blocked from visiting some areas. Yet those are areas you're supposed to have gone. We saw attacks on media personnel infringing upon press freedom. Some of the media personnel, I saw cameras being damaged, and some of the media personnel was being beaten during the process. There's also arrest and prosecution of civil society activists. You may have seen what Sarah Virente went through. If you look at the charges, like my brother here highlighted, it is all, politically inclined. Suspension of civil society organizations, definitely we know the role they play, or they would have played during this process. Probably would have had a hand, would not have been so overwhelmed, because some of them do the work we do. But unfortunately, they are suspended. And again, they also play a very big role in documentation of some of these human rights violations. So you can imagine what you are going to miss, what happened in the dark. The internet shut down. And now we come to the election period. The internet shutdown, which came just 2 days to, was a violation of the right to access of information. We know most people relied on the internet to communicate with their people across the country. Uganda is diverse. And the fact that there was total internet shutdown, it was very hard for these people to coordinate the participants in this process. The biometric machine failures and delayed voting, you see the details in the report. There was a lot of violence, killing, and arbitrary arrests. We're looking at the situation in Butambara, where there was violence in the home of Mwanga Chivumbi, the deputy president. We saw people being executed during the shot at. Several of them died, I think about 10 or so. And some of these people who were arrested actually happened to represent them, to have represented them in court. Unfortunately, the initial charges that were placed have been amended, and now they are charged with terrorism. And some of these, I mentioned, had been arrested even before the 15th day. Some of them, the ones I interviewed myself, had been arrested on the 13th, on the 12th. Others are school-going students. Actually, the reason we had gone back to court was to apply for bail so that they can go back to school, a number of them with their parents. But now, the initial charges of malicious damage and riots have been amended to terrorism. You know what that means. Then also a big impact of low voter turnout. The Electoral Commission communicated 52% of the registered voters. Out of over 50 million Ugandans, the registered voters are about 21 million. But out of the 21 million, only 52%. This is the lowest in the history of elections in Uganda. And again, that speaks to what is happening. Are people still interested in it? Or what is chasing people away from participating? And you had the recommendation from the horse's mouth, someone who participated. If people participate, feel like they shouldn't be part of this process. And if you notice from the presidential and parliamentary elections, the elections that followed after, the turnout was even worse. There are places where, I remember the mayoral elections, people completely lost interest. And we believe it's majorly because of the violence and the fact that it has lost credibility. People do not believe that their votes actually count. Most of them know even if I vote, whether I vote or not, it is already predetermined. Why should I participate? Others, if I go there, I'll be beaten and tortured and arrested. And this is very dangerous for the country especially a young democracy like Uganda. And then there was also an issue of questionable tallying and results transmission by the Electoral Commission. I was I participated, I was at the National Tally Center, and the initial transmission the chairperson of the Electoral Commission was giving us was very unclear. You would just mention the percentages, you know, the voting, but the votes cast, the ones that have been collected for each candidate and the percentage, but in total disregard of the laid down procedures in the law, it was not clear on where these votes were coming from. We never saw any of these declaration forms. You could not know this is from which polling station. So basically, the whole process was flouted. It was not followed, and that is a big challenge. That is wrong. The fact that we have the law clearly laid out, but we still cannot follow the law. It is absurd. Now, the post-election period, we saw the house arrest of Robert Chagulanyi and family in Magere. He had to escape, most of us know, because of the threats. We've continued seeing arbitrary arrests, even after elections, and especially targeting opposition people. And then judicial determination of electoral matters. Look at an example of the Masaka woman MP. What has happened, we saw it has exposed the judiciary so much, because like I said, the judiciary has a big role to play. Right now is the time for election petitions. And we felt they should have been prepared for this. But we say judicial officer today saying I'm following the laid down principles. Once there is a tampering, the boxes have been tampered with, or anything we cannot proceed with, recount. In another situation, is saying it is fine, much as there is tampering. We've actually seen some boxes have been tampered with, the seals are broken. I shall continue with the counting, the vote recount, which is in total disregard of the laid down principles. This is a judicial office of a lower, rank, the chief magistrate, but there are precedents set by the higher court, which must be followed. And we are yet to see what the judiciary is going to do about this, because, like you said, it's the judiciary at trial. If people begin losing trust in the institution, like I said before, then where are we headed, or what happens next? I have a colleague, when I posted this, one of the lawyers said, in fact, in some areas, some people have, instead of going to judiciary, they have started applying witchcraft. So meaning they are equating seeking justice in court to seeking justice through witchcraft. And this is being said by a member of the bar, by the way, a lawyer. So that's where we're headed. Now, again, it's been a big challenge, the fact that a lot of inconsistencies across board. I know we're going through other petitions, but it's really a test, especially any member of the bar should be concerned for the jurisprudence we are setting. If there are inconsistencies in how these matters are handled, what are the basis? What is the basis shall we use as members of the bar? As lawyers, a lawyer, you're representing a party, but you know it is not clear. I mean, if a judicial officer of a lower rank can do something that is contrary to what has been said by a higher court, then what do you expect? So it makes practice very hard. Now, we made some interventions. One, the rapid response, which was established to monitor human rights abuses. And through the toll-free line, ULS received over 250 calls from across the country reporting election-related human rights incidents, and were able to send lawyers to take part. And we also had a pro bono team of lawyers, the ones I've read out, and others, where so far the report we have about 303 persons affected during elections have been presented. At least these ones, we have the charge sheets, we have the dates they appeared in court and the dates they are coming back, and action taken. And you will access the report. They are at the back of the report. Then we, of course, also helped some people, about 100 persons, get police bond through, those earlier interventions before they were taken to court. I remember receiving a call from, I think, Kumi, something like that, and colleagues there rushed and helped people before they were taken to court. Over 160 cases are still pending in courts of law and assigned to advocates who are ensuring that the necessary legal support is provided to these affected persons. We also did some stakeholder engagements with OAU, IGAD, and COMESA. We had various media engagements, and I've also tried to reach out to some of these affected people. We had to pay a visit to Babi Chagulanyi as the ULS to see how we can help, as well as other victims who have been going through this. Now, this is just a summary of the report we have. I call upon the Secretariat team. I want us to have that report launched. I'll also go through the recommendations. I'm glad that you had some recommendations come from the people who are speaking, because they have several recommendations you've put there in the report. The fact that we have, the members of the public participating, and we see some recommendations coming out, we are still open to adding more recommendations. We don't want to think we are the only ones who have solutions to these problems. That is why we're having such engagements. But we chose to have, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term solutions to these problems. That is why you saw us do what we call a rapid response, like first aid. What do you do immediately someone has gotten an accident, and then what happens after? Because we know how to push for reforms. So, Secretariat team, please, let's have the report. I'm going to invite my fellow council members here to come and take part in this launch. What time is it?
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a round of applause to the Vice President as he launches the general elections report. And this is going to be shared publicly. The report is going to be shared publicly. We shall host the council members first to sign against the dummy. As has been explained, you realize that there is just too much for us to study, and this has been evidential in everything that has been. We want to welcome the council member representative from the East to do the signature. Thank you so much for your report. Thank you for the participation. These council members have also been the particular representatives of the regional rapid response team, wherever they were. Those in the East were represented by Council Eddie Nangur. We have the big man from Lira, who was representing those in the North. Thank you so much, Mr. Garu. We really appreciate. And of course, we have Mr. Zanda, who speaks for Masaka, and he's also the president of the Masaka Bar. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, as some other people come to sign on this report, allow me to take you briefly through our recommendations, because it's important that we mention the recommendations. Our first recommendation is that the government of Uganda should publicly acknowledge and condemn all election-related human rights violations and take concrete steps to prevent their occurrence. Now, we know this is too much to ask, but it is the role of the government. It should ensure that all state institutions and agents are strictly within the confines of the law and respect constitutional guarantees. Another recommendation, we call upon the Uganda Human Rights Commission to conduct thorough, independent, and timely investigations into all these, the reported election-related human rights violations. It has a constitutional mandate, and we expect the commission to, produce and publish this comprehensive report for the public to see with action taken. Another recommendation, we urge the judiciary to ensure the timely, impartial, and effective resolution of all electoral disputes in strict compliance with constitutional and statutory timelines. We know the impact delays in these adjudications causes, so that's why we're calling upon the judiciary to ensure this is done timely. The other day I had the new Chief Justice mention it during the annual judges conference, calling upon the colleagues to do that. Now we also call upon the Uganda Police Force and other security agencies to strictly adhere to the principles of legality, necessity, proportionality, and accountability in maintenance of law and order during elections. Security agencies must desist from arbitrary arrests, unlawful detention, and the use of excessive force. And what we are saying as the Uganda Society is where these abuses are done, where we know specific individual officers, these persons shall be prosecuted. Though we call upon the police to also investigate and hold these people accountable. If you remember, in the last cycle, 2021, we know so many people are shot dead. We've also seen where, identified security personnel have, done some of these heinous acts, but we've not seen the institution come out to actually give a report that this person has been investigated, action has been taken, yet they have disciplinary bodies to do this. So we call upon them to do that. Again, we also have a recommendation for the Director of Public Prosecution, who is urged to exercise, this office is urged to exercise its mandate independently and impartially by expanding the review and prosecution of cases arising from election-related violence and human rights abuses. We therefore call for discontinuation of prosecution of politically motivated cases, because we've seen some of these charges. And I must report that before that, I think, of the internet shutdown, we had a meeting with the DPP himself, and we raised these issues. He promised to take steps, but we are calling upon the DPP openly. The DPP office should not allow to be used by, politicians to send some of these cases to court when they're not supposed to be there. Then we also have another recommendation for the Electoral Commission. My friend Ngulu has already said they should resign. Someone said they should be prosecuted. So I don't want to give a recommendation that is, which might wash all that. But as it is for now, we believe the Electoral Commission should have, should be strengthened as an independent institution. This is also for the future. And, we should have them operate effectively to ensure the conduct of elections that meet constitutional and international standards. As you are aware, constitutionally, the Electoral Commission should be independent. But then we are seeing some of these challenges where it does not appear independent. And again, we also felt at some point the Electoral Commission was not in charge of the process, yet constitutionally and by law, it's the Electoral Commission that should have been in charge of this process. But we saw some orders being made, some arrests being made, some people being prevented from, campaigning, and the Electoral Commission was silent. It showed that the Commission was actually not in charge of the process it should have been in charge of. We saw other powers and other forces doing the work which should have been done by the Commission, which led to a lot of confusion. Again, for Parliament, we have new members. I'm glad our colleague George Musisi is going to the House, and other members of the bar. This should be part of your first tasks. So we're saying the Parliament should review and amend electoral and public order laws that enable and facilitate human rights violations, and also to ensure adequate funding to institutions that are dealing with protection of human rights. But then again, when it comes to amendment of the laws, we've been seeing issues, for example, the powers given to the chief magistrates in these issues of vote recounts, as well as the Electoral Commission. We saw my colleague Treasurer talked about the denominating of candidates. Should the Electoral Commission, which participated in nominating these people, again be the arbiter in the same case? Those are areas of reform. So we have a soft copy of the report Robert will communicate. This is just, the hard copies are few for purposes of this occasion. Yeah, but we shall have a QR code where you can access the report. It's also going to be downloaded on our website. You can access the report there and get the details. So as we go down, Robert, please, we have other colleagues who should be signing the report. It's not only for council.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. A round of applause to him for this and the rest of the council for the elaborate work that they have been doing. Thank you so much for deliberating. My colleague, Mr. Eddie Nangulu, thank you so much for taking charge of the moderation. We would like to invite the different individuals that are seated in here to, partake of the launch by appending a signature. Yes, appending a signature so that we are able to be in unison on the same point. I would like to call upon Honorable Musisi, who is joining the House very soon and who has had a recommendation that is supposed to go to the House. He's going to be our mouthpiece, of course, with all the other members at the members of ULS. We wish you well and thank you for identifying with what matters. Thank you so much. We'd like to call the CEO of the Uganda Law Society to append her signature, who will also be followed by Mr. Henry Muguzi, who has also been a part of this discussion. We shall also have Council Tony Galandi Kire, who has also been a part of this discussion and of course is in our good books as the chairman of the inaugural Tech Fest. Thank you so much for making time over here. This is a collected effort. We don't want to imagine it is a solo project. This is a collected effort. Thank you so much, Madam CEO. Thank you, Mr. Henry Muguzi. You gave a very good deliberation in regard to the election observation. You're most welcome, Tony. For this, we would like to call Miss Nina Rose as well to append her signature. She will be followed as well by Mr. Yasin Sentumbwe, who is also a part of the Radical New as far as the ideology is concerned. We're not going to forget the chairperson of the Peasants Party, who is also going to follow in. Mr. Andrew, you're welcome, Mr. Mulindwa. We are going to be receiving Mr. Kato and Mr. Kakuru Tumusime, who are also a part of this discussion, and they have been at the forefront in as far as representation is concerned of the members of the society or the public that have been arrested and arraigned before courts of law. We shall also have the head of department as well as the rule of law department members to come and sign, as we also receive the head of Legal Aid Project, Ms. Sheila Turian Singura, and we shall also have that followed by Tsunami. Tsunami here? Yes, I saw him somewhere. Let us take charge. Let us have these people and these individuals sign. And thereafter, we shall also have members who are interested in appending their signatures for purposes of posterity. Thank you. Thank you so much. We want to, coming to the close of the function, we have only one item that is next, after which we shall be in position to close the function. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Tsunami, is Tsunami here? Okay, those members of the public that are interested in appending a signature, kindly approach. All right, thank you so much. If that is it, we are going to welcome the Makerere Law Society team and the president in particular, who is going to render unto us a communication that has been ongoing for the past 2 months in regard to the law students' London trip. It has been a campaign that has been on. Could we please have some order? Honorable, excuse me. The function is still ongoing. The function is still ongoing. Ladies and gentlemen, could we kindly settle in? The function is still ongoing. We have 1 or 2 items. Kindly take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Could we have some order in the house? Excuse me. Could we have some order in the house? Kindly. Could we please have some order in the house? Could we take our seats? Kindly. 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 Could we please take our seats, ladies and gentlemen? All right. The president of Makerere Law Society with the communication, please come with your team and take us away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you all. Well, my name is Oku Philip Gordon, and thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the opportunity again. We are so grateful. First, I'll invite my colleague to say something, then I'll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on the established protocol, my name is Peter Tushabomwe, third-year law student from Makerere University, and this is our project, the Law Student Study Trip to London. In a country where rule of law is no longer observed, in a country where the voice of the student matters not, where we can't do anything, we came up with this idea, and that is how, as law students, we seek to redefine rule of law. We want to go to London, where the law that governs us came from, to trace the ideas and the principles that underpin this law that takes us, that binds us together, come back and implement it here. We chose a modern democracy, and we want to compare and comprehend how far our Uganda has implemented this law and how far they have done it the other side. The registration dates have been extended to 15th of February 2026. The full price is $2,985. The full price is $2,985. Full payment should be done by 15th of March for those who intend to travel with us. And we intend to travel in the first week of July 2026. We call upon all lawyers, all law students, and everyone affiliated to the legal fraternity, join us in this educational endeavor as we seek to redefine rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter. I just want to take the opportunity to thank our partners, Uganda Law Society. We appreciate you. British Council and Uganda Airlines. Those are people we're working with to see that this project is achieved. Now, as a law student and also as a leader, I would like to add my voice to the voices of those that have spoken before me by calling upon my learning colleagues, the students all over the country, that what the Radical New Bar is fighting for, it's about all of us. Today, if you remain silent and claim that maybe I'll fight after I get there, you will not find a space to live. Unless, of course, you're studying the law just for the sake. You know, there's usually, I always love to refer to a rich man who goes every once or twice a week to play football. They are not trying to impress anyone. Just Arim Kusala Masavu. So if you're that kind of student who is just trying to Kusala Masavu, maybe you can remain in the comfort. But if you're the kind of student who intends to practice their profession, who enjoys their profession, then this is your fight as well. Thank you so much for God and my country.
Thank you so much for that reminder. We were here last year with this team. They have been doing tremendous work. Their information is on the ULS X handle and all other socials with their partners, as we have discussed, as we've heard from them. Kindly support them, but also get an experience of your lifetime by getting a visa to the UK and going to enjoy the sceneries, but also adding legal education to to your own self. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to a close of the function for today. Would like to honor everybody that has been present. Would like to give a very big round of applause to the council members that have made it physically. This has been a very, very action-oriented function, as we said from the beginning, and we would like to really bless you, especially, of course, in the absence of the president, who is not feeling well. We would like to pray that the Lord will heal you and give you quick recovery in your absence. We would like to thank you for your leadership, but also ask that God bless you in your whereabouts. We are also grateful to the members and would like to call upon Mr. Egaru and Mr. Sally to give us a closing remark as well, because Mr. Sally was not in position to speak to us for reasons that were beyond his control, but over time he joined us and would like to yield the microphone and the stage to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, the President of Uganda Law Society, my colleague, the council members, and all of you colleagues who are here, and those online. My name is Emmanuel Egaru Omiat. I represent the lawyers of the Northern Uganda. A lot has already been said, and indeed, all through this election process, as one of the persons who participated, especially in the North, we mobilized our colleagues to respond to all the challenges that came with these elections. And indeed, we saw so much. And first of all, I want to thank the council members for the leadership that we provided, and the colleagues who stood firm, who came out and supported our people, the citizens, who were facing challenges. In the interest of time, I just want to say we should not give up. And first of all, as lawyers, the community, the citizens, have hope in us. And so, let's mobilize ourselves, our colleagues. Let us stand firm. Let us stand for the rule of law. I know there is so much fear, intimidation, arrest, and all that. A number of our colleagues have cowardice. A number of people are in fear. But as lawyers, especially, we should not shy away from these challenges. Because if we do so, the people who are going to come much later after us are not going to forgive us for not doing the right thing. We cannot shy away from voting or from election, because it is only through elections that we can achieve fundamental rights. It's only elections that can allow our voices to be heard. It's only voting that we can ensure there is accountability. And so, let's keep fighting. Let's keep talking for the voiceless. Let's stand firm. Let me keep it at this point in the interest of time, but I want to thank all of you who attended this engagement. Let me invite my colleague also to come and just make remarks and as we close this session. Thank you very much.
Yes, good afternoon, colleagues. I greet you all in your different capacities. And my name is Sali Babu, Acting Secretary, Uganda Law Society. I wish to thank the ULS Governing Council and the ULS Secretariat headed by the CEO for not only ensuring that the Uganda Law Society is facilitated in fulfilling its mandate under Section 3 of the ULS Act by setting up the ULS Election Monitoring Unit and the Rapid Response Unit that in a way were very instrumental during the just recently concluded general elections. And my concern just like other council members, was in the total disregard of the Constitution and all the enabling laws in relation to not only human rights protection, but also the election process. My colleague talked about the low voter turnout, which was at 52%, and that is largely attributed to the prior military deployment, the heavy prior military deployment towards the election, which in a way scared off many of the voters. And that is why you find that even on the voting day, many were not certain of what would happen in the event. They probably got identified with particular political parties. I simply want to call upon our colleagues, the advocates, to not shy away from their role, because the word advocate is simply beyond a person wearing suits. And when we got a call to join the noble profession, it means we must stand up for the indigent, the suffering members of the community, to not only access but also achieve justice. Basically, that is my call to our colleagues, and that is all I have to state, because majority of what I had to state has been spoken by my colleagues. It was a team, and whatever we observed has been documented in the well-documented report that has already been launched. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sali, and thank you to the rest of the council members. We are coming to a close of the function, but I realize there's a few questions that need to be asked and a few answers that are sought. I will take one or two questions. I am seeing one from Mr. Shamil. Kindly ask your question, and we see if we can have it addressed. Then we see how to move. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much today. Thank you, Uganda Law Society, for your election observation report. As always, I am the citizen here to hold all of you accountable, including our chairman, National Peasants Party. We wish you success in your petition, and we hope you will lead this great country one day. Now, as you've already told us, you know, the violations people have suffered and everything, we have talked about this for years and as the Uganda Law Society. My first issue one, you are here today, you're not at the judiciary, which means the war is now officially on. You guys were dragging your feet before, that as you may not be aware, but the new Chief Justice has posted that anyone who attacks the judges on social media, he's coming for you. That has happened today at opening the new lawyer. But my question now is, are we supposed to keep quiet when a judge walks to Golden Tulip, does what he did? I think you know the judge. The other day, the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission was very clear. There's corruption amongst the judges. We are bombarded, we are criticized, we are abused. Everything that the radical new buy is bad. Now, one of their own says there's corruption amongst the judges. We saw the person in Masaka. We have tried so many measures. We have reported to the inspector of courts. None of that is working. Someone said they are using witchcraft. Don't you think the court of the ancestors is a much better option, because it is what happens? Then, yeah, it's an effective court. Then secondly, the good thing, you have over 40 advocates who are now in parliament. Advocate Robert Benonjurua has told us, you have spoken section 3 of the ULS Act. I have not read it, but your mandate is section 3E, section 3E. You are fully aware that NGOs have been banned in Uganda now effectively. There is no more civil society. I think you are the last one standing. And what keeps you people standing is because you are in the law. And we know very well in Uganda what happens to laws. When there's a law which is inconvenient for some people, it gets amended. So, how will you stop section 3? Is it E, Mr. Robert? Yes, section 3D and E, under which your mandate lies. Because if you become a problem, because according to the Chief Justice, you are now a problem, what will stop them from going after section 3D and section 3 and amending them? Because they have the numbers. And what will you do to stop the Chief Justice and the people behind him from attacking Section 3D and E, which is the last line of resort, to all the Ugandans, including our Honorable Musisi, Honorable Nina Rose, and Honorable Mulindwa Andrew. Because once Section 3D and 3E are amended, I think that will be the end of us in this building. So, council members, kindly respond to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other question in the house? In the meantime, we can have answers to those questions. Thank you so much, Shamil. If you don't mind, council members, are you able to divide into those questions? Mr. Zander, you look to be closer to the mic. If it is well with you, please. The microphone before you is can be activated.
Thank you, Mr. Shamil. I will answer the last, as you also, the moderator reminds us of the first. The last one was in regard to the remarks that have been made by the Chief Justice as of him not allowing any social media attacks on one of his judicial officers. History has it, and this is what we have been tussling with. Even during elections, we had that tug of war where the police officers are saying you are not supposed to remain on the polling stations there after voting. The chairperson EC is also saying the same, and at the other time saying something different. We as lawyers are supposed to educate people on what the law says. This goes straight to the freedom of speech. That is what this government and institutions are trying to suppress. Very unfortunate and shocking that the head of the bar, rather the bench, is the one coming out with such statements. That is a sign to the public and society what we've been telling you about how we are very unfortunate. We as the lawyers are going to keep on telling people they have a right of speech. Unfortunately, when they are arrested for breaching, or rather for speaking, we are going to these very courts. And we are seeing the head of these courts throwing out such lines. We are going to keep on telling you what is supposed to be done. If we need to go and challenge, unfortunately, such statements may not be challenged, but we are going to talk about it like we are talking against them. And if need be that we need to go to challenge them, we shall use every mechanism availed to us to challenge the same. Good enough, we are still standing. We haven't been taken out as Uganda Law Society, and we shall still do what we are supposed to do. Thank you. Mr. Moderator, remind us of the first one so that my colleague can answer.
Thank you so much. The other question in summary was whether we should resort to the courts of the ancestors if the courts of judicature are not yielding. I hope that is clear. You propose, eh? Hey, you're asking? No, they haven't been tested. That's why we're asking, should we go there? But the perspective really is in the disappointment and the public outcry in regards to the results that are coming from the courts of law, in light, of course, also to the most recent incident that we had in Masaka. You know that there was a vote recount, and yet a precedent has already been in use from the Supreme Court, and this is the Chief Magistrate's Court making a decision about a vote recount. So I hope you can take into perspective that scenario vis-a-vis so many others that, of course, we have already shared and heard about. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, the Chief Grave Digger. I can understand the rationale behind your question of surrendering to the court of ancestors. I think to you it has worked before, but the level of efficacy was by coincidence, I should say. It wasn't one that we can really be confident and rely upon. But however, I believe the context in which you asked your question is what other alternatives do we have in the event the judiciary cannot address or bring to book one of their own? And this one would be in relation, or I would relate it to what you asked about the reporting of the Chief Justice, that when a person attacks them, he would go for them. Ours as the Uganda Law Society and advocates is to condemn. And condemnation does not necessarily mean, or does not necessarily yield results there and then. And even when you try the means within the localities of our jurisdiction and it fails, you can always seek for redress outside the confines of our jurisdiction at an international level. And these outcries come with sanctions. They come with tarnishing a person's image or repute and their CV. And I do not think there is anyone in the public domain, that is a person in the judiciary, who wouldn't mind about what is being posted, what is being said about them. But the tone and the manner in which the Uganda Law Society addresses these concerns is not one that would be labeled as a direct attack. Because once we issue a statement as the Uganda Law Society condemning, condemnation is different from an attack. Because there is a particular vocabulary or wording of an attack that I believe the Uganda Law Society has refrained from being dragged into. Because we are alive to the fact that there is a lot of misguiding and misconception of how a message is sent out. But the Uganda Law Society will not stop today, even with that proclamation of the Chief Justice, and neither shall we stop condemning and using the courts of judicature in Uganda and even outside the jurisdiction. I don't know if that answered your question, the Chief Grave Digger.
Okay, thank you so much. We have, for purposes of accommodation of those that are online, you will forgive us. There's another question at hand. Okay, kindly approach. We shall ask the ones online. We have 3 more questions online. Please bear with us. Let's first take these ones that are physical. Kindly address the audience by your name, where you're coming from, your question precise and concise, and we can address it.
Thank you so much, dear moderator. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fiona Katwaisem Singza Kiki. I'm working with Kaijo Country Cottages, and I'm representing hospitality and tourism sector. I happened to be in the town for marketing, but when I heard this and I received the invitation, I decided to attend for the purpose and cause. We are really grateful for the need to arise and speak about these concerns. First of all, quoting Kaijo Country Cottages, we offer accommodation services, conference services, outside catering, and other related tourism services. But towards that time for elections, we faced a challenge whereby the first scenario, during that time for campaigning, His Excellency Bobby Wine, NUP president, he was caught within our place. We have visitors, we are transferring them to the airport, and we are denied to move. So it caused inconvenience to an extent whereby a client will go and write a bad review, and that review will affect the whole community, will affect the whole country in terms of what? Of business. How I pray, mine is not a question, but my prayer is, if we would come back together to the track, as I have seen, back to the track, we maintain peace and security in a moderate and in a peaceful manner. Someone has said if we can visit back the ancestors, but I see even visiting the ancestors may not work, because some people do not believe in ancestors. They have already moved to another session. It may not be law, it may not be ancestors, it may not be Jehovah Shalom, the Prince of Peace, but we come back together as people who have the spirit for the country. And we pray that those people who are acting in a weird way, they get that spirit of humanity. Under circumstances, I'll be brief. You are in a hospital, you're in a hotel, and one opponent, it's not because they are from different parties, but they are in the same party, but one comes at the reception and asks, has this and this person, has he been here? Meaning, in case he gets to know what would happen next, which state of fear does it put the hotel that is accommodating different categories of people? It's not only the politicians, even the people who are living in the community, even others who will live internationally and locally. We come back together and we fight, we restore the peace, and we stand to the law. We respect the law, and we move by the law. That's my prayer as Fiona, and greetings from the land of Mpako and the tourism city, Fort Potro. I represented the accommodation, hospitality, and tourism sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fiona. We received the greetings from the land of Mpako, and we kindly also request you to carry our regards back. There was another question over there. Kindly approach. Could you kindly be precise to the point, so that the council members whose schedule, of course, is also very loaded, can have a way to leave this place?
Thank you very much, Uganda Law Society. My name is Tarema Evans from King Caesar University, Rule of Law Club. My question goes, how can the oppressed reclaim their history, biographies, and lives, and thereby avoid premature social, psychological, and physical deaths in the name of practicing democracy? Because we have seen that lawyers, our hopes are in the Constitution, but where does the Constitution come in? The judiciary has been controlled by the executive. The Electoral Commission has been controlled by the executive. So, where should be the hopes of the people? If the independence has been intervened by the executive, the appointment of judges, it is by the president, and there is no way you can resist someone from working for his master. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that question. Rule of Law Club from King Caesar University, that is one of our babies. Thank you for the representation. The question really is open to the council members, but I would like that we divide them accordingly. There is 3 more questions that have come. I would like to take these 3 so that we could have the opportunity to hear from council. It's not often that we have the whole council team seated before us. Most of them, if not all, of course, are regional leaders, so their presence at the secretariat is seldom. We would like to take this opportunity to hear from them. They have graced us with a lot of information, but this is a question, for example, from Miss Rnblive Salma, asks, why do election-related offenses rarely translate into prosecutions, and who bears responsibility for that failure? Why do election-related offenses rarely translate into prosecutions, and who bears the responsibility for that failure? That is number 1, if you could kindly take them. The other is coming from Kato Sulaiman. Can the legal profession remain neutral in a context where constitutional violations are systemic? Can the legal profession remain neutral in a context where constitutional violations are systemic? And finally, from Agatha, from the ULS observations, which institutions most significantly failed their constitutional mandate in the 2026 elections, and how? From the ULS observations, which institutions most significantly failed their constitutional mandate in the 2026 elections, and how? Dear Council, we would request for you to divide those questions amongst yourselves. It's okay, so that we can hear from you and close this chapter. Thank you so much.
All right, we want to thank you so much for the questions. Let me take on this question of election offenses. Colleagues, as you may be, Uganda is not short of good laws, all laws that should, govern this country. Election offenses are clearly, right from the Parliamentary Election Act, the Local Government Act, presidential, the laws are very clear. I think the question this person is asking is why. Why I think we are not seeing many of these people who violate these electoral laws prosecuted, and well, whereas we have very good laws, we should deal with a number of these challenges. But also we have challenges with these institutions. We have been talking about how, let's start from police, which is the entry point on dealing with this election or any offenses that one may commit in this country. Talk about DPP, who is mandated to prosecute, and then talk about the court. The biggest challenge we are having, as we have all seen and been discussing, is the capturing of these institutions, to the extent that people are in fear to follow up with their cases. I've had so many given up in following up, or even accepting to be witnesses, because of intimidation, because of corruption, because of all these things we are talking about, and failure by the government to follow what we have been crying about, what the citizens are crying about, the rule of law, where institutions should work. And so that is the biggest challenge. But the laws are there. And so that's one of the reasons why I think every one of us who spoke today was talking about us coming up, especially the lawyers. Can we stand firm and talk against what we are saying is not the right thing, the things which are happening? Rule of law. Can we have these institutions accountable? So the question is the institutions failing to do their part, the institutions failing to dispense justice as it should be. But I think we shouldn't give up, like all of us are saying. Let us keep speaking against these vices. Let the institutions, let DPP, let police, let the judiciary do their part. When people who have committed these offenses are brought before court, let us see justice. That is what I can say about this first question. Let me give my colleagues opportunity.
Thank you so much, Advocate Tigaru. Council, kindly. Thank you so much. The Governor.
Yes, in respect to the question whether the legal profession can remain neutral when we have human rights violations, of course this question goes to all the advocates in Uganda. It is trite law that all lawyers are judicial officers. So all lawyers out there, the question is out to you. Will you remain silent when human rights are being violated, especially in this period where we are politically charged? It is the role of every lawyer to stand out for any person who is facing human rights violations. As we speak, the Uganda Law Society has come up with a rapid response unit that is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that all citizens in Uganda, all election agents, and very many other people who have been arrested in respect to allegations of common nuisance. I hope you have all heard about common nuisance. That someone is a nuisance being around a polling station. Yeah, that is quite sad because the law is quite clear that as long as you are within at least 20 meters, you can observe and witness whatever is happening. But we see quite a number of citizens of this country have been arrested. So Uganda Law Society, we shall not remain silent. Personally, as an advocate, I shall not remain silent. And of course, the lawyer out there, I call upon you not to remain silent. Let's stand for one another to ensure that at the end of the day, everyone can enjoy this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for that question. The questions coming through. I'll first begin by also complimenting what the Treasurer has said as far as neutrality is concerned. As the Uganda Law Society, as the Radical New Bar, we stand with the oppressed. That is why you cannot be neutral in the face of, these violations, the human rights violations. We do stand with the oppressed, those ones who cannot speak for themselves. It's like when an elephant is stepping, on a rat, and you decide to side with the elephant, then that means you've chosen, you'll be blamed for that in future. Now, in as far as the last question on the institutions, which institution has failed most? Was that the question? Yeah. You may notice from our report we highlighted the various violations, the various omissions, commissions that were done. What stands out clearly is that in this whole process, there are various institutions that are mandated statutorily to perform their roles. The first institution being the Electoral Commission. When you look at the Electoral Commission Act, the Commission has a mandate to take charge of an election from the beginning. Every incident, every aspect of an election, it should be the Electoral Commission in charge. But we saw scenarios where, like I stated earlier, you notice the Electoral Commission was not in charge. Why would you have police and other security agencies, the CDF and other leaders of, heads of the army, giving orders, issuing orders, or giving directives on an electoral process when it should have been the chairman of the Electoral Commission? You saw scenarios where some people are going to campaign, they are being blocked from accessing the venues, and the police officer is the one issuing orders, yet it should be the Electoral Commission. Even when you look at the Act, it's very clear under what circumstances will the army take part in an election. Electoral Commission should be in charge of, the security, they use police, and it's only when matters are out of hand that they can call for extra support. But there was this whole situation where the EC was not in charge. Now, again, we saw a lot of drama during the nominations and denomination. We know the Act gives them power to act as an arbiter. The Electoral Commission, once someone complains about the nomination of a particular person, then they can come in and sit in as an arbiter. But we saw a lot of chaos. Take note that this Electoral Commission is headed by a judge of the High Court. In fact, the comments I've gotten from people were very disappointed. We thought if they appointed the chairperson who is a judge, we're going to see a difference. Just yesterday, I had someone who came, a client who reached out, and they were in these local council elections. And the Local Government Act does not allow someone who is holding an office, an office in the local government to contest to run for a position, a local government position, like a councillor. And there's a situation where there's this person employed as a health worker by the local government, KCC, I think. He contests the position, he's nominated. This person raises such a complaint, and the commission, the Electoral Commission, is saying, no, that is okay. There might be lacuna with the law. This is fine. And you look at other areas where we've seen a lot of chaos happening, denominating people. In some areas, I think you find over 6 people being denominated in favor of only one person. So I think the Electoral Commission failed us, and that is the reason most people lost confidence in the work they did. That is, it affects the credibility of the process itself. That is why most people will not actually believe in the outcome. You can ask out of 10 people on the street, how many people will tell you they believe in the Electoral Commission, what they did? To the extent that we had even the chairperson of the Electoral Commission interpreting the law wrongly. And there was this whole chaos where the law says after voting you can, wait, but you stand 20 meters away. But the chairperson is saying if you stay there, they will arrest you, you leave. So the law is saying this, the commission is saying this. So I feel the Electoral Commission failed us a lot, even in the whole process of transmission of results. They failed to manage. The commission completely failed to manage. No wonder I'm not surprised that some of the recommendations are that the Electoral Commission should be fired. Again, if you look at, I think in the 2016 election petition by the Honorable Mama Mbabas, there were so many other recommendations that were made by the Supreme Court. None of those recommendations has been implemented. We saw this BVV issue coming up. We thought it would protect the credibility and the integrity of this election. On the day of elections, the machines have not worked. How much money has been invested? Over 60-something billion Uganda shillings, I'm told. So it really failed us. But it's not only the Electoral Commission. We've also had other institutions like the police. They are handling people. They played their role. You saw the arbitrary arrests, the torture. Let me talk about security agencies at once. Security agencies, we saw I think the military taking part in a civic activity, which they shouldn't be doing. They have no place in civil activities. In elections, the military has no place. And the police failed to do their job. Probably that is why the military even came in and the police started doing what the military does. They are beating up people. We saw tear gas all over the place during campaigns, intimidating people, arresting them, bundling them in trucks and throwing them, in various police cells just for participating in a campaign and an election, expressing themselves, associating with others. It affects their activities, or whatever they did was a total abuse of the constitutional rights in the Constitution, freedom of expression, association. All those were trampled on by the police. Yet no one is being held accountable. We saw during elections people were shot dead. Why do you apply such force where someone doesn't have a firearm? You have a gun, you shot. You saw what happened at Mwanga Chivumbi's place. Even if there's a right of this, there's a disagreement. There's a specific way statutorily in the law how you should deal with a particular issue. Why would you shoot bullets? Why would you shoot at people who are unarmed? It is not called for. I also feel other institutions that the Uganda Human Rights Commission has failed us. During the period, whatever happened, there was a lot they could do as an independent institution, but the commission remained silent. We did not see them. I think it's once or twice we saw them coming out to call upon some of these people. But again, the Constitution gives the commission a lot of power to even prosecute and even, pass some of these give awards, but we saw them, not do their part. And then I think the judiciary also failed us so badly as an institution, because almost during this period of campaigns, every case that is being taken to court is politically motivated. These people are arrested because they were at a campaign rally. When they reach court, the best court can do is send them to prison. Even those who apply for bail, you would look at some of these charge sheets. Some of them are fatally defective, but the magistrate will still go ahead and read the charge sheet and say, and remand someone. People try to apply for bail. Some people even, I think some candidates were even in prison during elections. They didn't participate in voting themselves. Yeah, and then we've seen even post-election what has been happening, what the judicial officers, how they are dealing with these disputes that are being taken to them, in total contradiction of the set principles and the law. So it has failed us more, and people are slowly by slowly losing confidence in the institution of the judiciary as an independent arbiter. But all in all, and as I sum this up, I think the government has failed us more, because these are government institutions and they've been allowed to be operated like individual institutions. If you see the way in which certain things are done, we're in a state of emergency mode. There are certain things that have been made, the orders that have been made, and those orders can only be made during a state of emergency. For example, the shutdown of internet, that can only be done during the state of emergency. That's when you cut off communication, and there are standards. But the government has done this without even declaring that it's a state of emergency. And if you notice, I think Treasurer was talking about this, every reason they give is security, national security. So if you realize everything that is happening is affecting national security, that means we should be in a state of emergency. But before you have those measures, You're supposed to first declare the state of emergency. Then you take measures to put things in order. So we're in a total failure, and that's why I think we're now slowly by slowly descending into a military government, setting aside the constitution, setting aside constitutionalism, and diving into military government. We are under military rule under normal circumstances because the constitution has been thrown outside the window. And again, as I conclude, I think some of the politicians have also failed us because they have a big role to play, especially those who have been in parliament and those who are going there. I'm hoping that probably have a better crop that will stand up to protect the constitution, because without constitutional governance, it's a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Council, with those last remarks from the Vice President in answering that very critical question, which of course affects all of us in regard to the institutions that have let the citizens down. We don't want to say much more. Maybe the onus goes back to the citizens who power belongs to, for you to know how to interact with the situation at hand. And of course, we would like to use this opportunity as the Radical New Bar at the Uganda Law Society to re-emphasize the purpose of such kind of dialogue and these conversations which never end. This is constitutional conversation that never ends, and we want to say that the Uganda Law Society is going to continue to do and have these conversations every other day. We do this every Thursday between 11 and 1, but also there is so many other platforms that we are active upon, especially online on the X Spaces, but as well, if you follow the Uganda Law Society X handle, you will find a lot more other opportunities in which these conversations are going to continue to be held. We would like to take the opportunity to come to thank the Governing Council for their presence. We cannot thank you more. You've been very awesome, and would like to thank Mr. Nangulu Eddie, who of course is not here. He has moderated easily well and of course added flair to the conversation as was anticipated. The council members individually, thank you for your time. The council members from who have traveled would like to thank you, and also as you return, may the Lord bless you, and we ask that God will keep you. The President, Mr. Isaac K. Semakade, thank you so much. We love you. We honor you. We pray that the Lord is going to heal you, especially in your ill health. And because we know you once said you're not necessarily in the country, but your mind's here. We feel you, and we know that God is watching over you. We continue to stand with you. We continue to identify with you and ask that the Lord will bless us as we continue in this journey. Ladies and gentlemen, we have first spent our time. It's about time that we come to a close of this function. We'd like to thank all the members of the public that have participated in this conversation. We'd like to thank the media, the Fourth Estate. We cannot operate without you, and anything that comes against you also affects us. We'd like to associate ourselves with you, the civil society organizations, the very unfortunate instance that happened before the elections of them being clamped down and operations being stopped. Would like to associate with you, and the Uganda Society is open. If you need any support, like it has been brought by the National Unity Platform petition, kindly approach our offices. The council is available and the secretariat is available to receive your complaints. We would also like to encourage those that are out in the public. The rapid response unit or team is still active. We gave ourselves, as the council guided, up to 6 months of operation, active operation, to listen in to complaints that are election related. And as we speak, there's so many going on. There's lawyers across the country at the 22 clinics across the country. Kindly feel free to use the WhatsApp numbers, WhatsApp and toll-free numbers that were shared by the Secretariat, and feel free to make that call because it's free, and we're here to receive that call and eventually help you out. We'd also like to thank the Secretariat for receiving the Governing Council. We'd like to thank the Rule of Law Department for organizing this function, and all the other departments. We don't work in isolation. It has been a collected effort, the Communications Department and all other members that have participated. Thank you for the students that paid us a visit, and thank you for those invited guests that that honored the invite. Mr. Yassin, you've represented them. Thank you very much. May Allah be with you in the name of Allah indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring this function to a close. Thank you so much for participating. May God be with you, for God and my country. Thank you.